welcome to another episode of the Unquestionably Raw podcast. On Wednesday, we went over the Eastern Conference, and tonight we're going to go over the Western Conference. We're going to go from 15 all the way up to 1. So we'll start off with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, with the Mavericks, I'm going to just give a couple stats, and we're going to go right over to Lance. They're 29th in pace, 18th in defensive rating, 29th in offensive rating. You know, obviously they've pretty much got the worst record in the NBA. So I'm going to throw it over to Lance now. What do you got for us, Lance?
Well, guys, this is the year. Each year we say one of the Mavs is going to start bottoming out. Well, this is the year, and we're not even doing it on purpose. We just suck. We try hard, we play hard, but I mean, last 4 out of their 5 games. We lost to the Kings so bad that Carlisle was calling timeouts that we knew we didn't have just so we can, get out of there. Just the only bright side is Barnes, honestly. Everyone's been hurt. We have a couple of rookies that are standing out, and I don't know if that's an indictment towards Justin Anderson not being able to progress, or is it they're just, standing out in a positive way towards them and nothing against him. But, they're just bad, and you know what? Embrace it. Just embrace the crappiness because, the Mavs have been needing to probably get some draft picks in a while, and this draft is supposed to be deep with point guards, and I'm looking for us to get Ball out of UCLA. That dude is a tall point guard, which we haven't had one in a while since Kidd, him being 6'4", 6'5". So
can shoot with range too.
What was that?
Can shoot with some range too.
Exactly. And I've only watched a couple games, but he looks to get his teammates involved pretty early from what I've seen anyways. So, obviously they're last in the league for a reason. So most of their stats are pretty much last in rebounds, last in assists, last in field goal percentage. Don't want to harp on them too much, but hey, just embrace it, man, and just look out for those high draft pick.
So
I
know
you could probably get number 1, but I'm happy with top 3. So
and oh shoot, if you get top 10 this year, you can supposedly get a franchise guy, but we'll see. You can never tell with college kids. Christian Laettner is probably the greatest college player of all time. Look what he did in the NBA. Michael Jordan, great in college, but nobody knew he was going to be as good as he was. So you just don't know with certain guys. Grant Hill, another one. So, but I know we talked before we went live, and you want him to sit Dirk the rest of the year. I would have to agree with you on that. Lose. Just take your losses. You got Harrison Barnes going forward, who you may disagree, Gonzo may disagree, and that's okay. And some of you guys out there might. I think Barnes is a nice second option guy going forward as a scorer.
Yeah, I don't think he should never be your first option if you want to win. Obviously, with what we're happening here, you can kind of see that. But a second or third option, definitely. But if he's your number 1 guy, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, you're not going to win. You're not going to win many games. Gonzo, what do you got for us on the Mavericks?
Dallas. We knew this time was pretty much coming. It was eventually going to hit the organization, but it's more so a tribute to Dirk Nowitzki and how great he's been in his career. I think for him to go down and to see how this whole team just kind of has fallen apart this year, it just goes to show you his greatness. And I'm one of those people that I don't want to hear him second ballot Hall of Famer. I don't want to hear third ballot, first ballot Hall of Famer. Look how he's carried this franchise on his back for years, and never really, especially towards the end, he never really had. Even when he won a championship, he never really had he had a 6-man, but he never had another star.
No, he's him. I look at him, Hakeem, and Tim Duncan are the only 3 players in the history of the league to win a championship without another all-star on your team. And I don't want to hear Jason Kidd. He was old. He wasn't an all-star. Neither was Peja. None of those guys were all-stars that year. No. Same thing with Duncan. Well, he had Manu and Parker. Not in 2003 when they won, those guys weren't all-stars. So, and Hakeem, the first title he won, the second best player on the team was Otis Thorpe. He was not an all-star. So those are the 3 guys. So Gonzo's right with that with Dirk. He carried this team on his back.
Indeed. And you know what? It's sad to see Dirk all hobbled up, and it's even more sad that we don't know when he's coming back. He doesn't even know when he's coming back. So that's why I'm saying to shut him down. I don't want him to retire. Shut him down. a la Spurs in about 96 or 97 when they did it to get Tim Duncan.
Yep,
Hey,
exactly. Look how that turned out.
Exactly.
In a guard heavy, you need guards now. There's plenty of them in this year's draft. Gonzo. So you agree with that? Shut Dirk down the year, tank, get a high pick.
Honestly, personally speaking, I really think that Dirk, at this point in his career, especially when he's dealing with an Achilles injury, I think he's just retired. He has nothing else to prove.
No.
There's very few players in the NBA that actually win one ring. And one ring is so acceptable for us, just some players. Like, I'm going to give an example. Tim Duncan would have been acceptable with one ring because of the market he plays in.
Mm-hmm.
He was blessed to get 5, right? Blessed to have a great coach to know how to run a system where I can bring multiple players in. Because at first, if you notice, in the beginning of Tim Duncan's career, they were a post-up team with him and David Robinson. And then towards the end of his career, like the middle towards the end, they turned into like a fast break team all of a sudden. So they played 2 different styles and won 5 rings. So that's a blessing. He was able to get away with that.
Hey, let me just say, though, this is how I'm phrasing it. I don't think it's tanking. I'm really thinking it's just looking out for the betterment of Dirk and his health. Because that Achilles is no joke. I mean, he's 37, 38 maybe. I mean, he's lucky that he can still say he can play with an Achilles sore. I know it's not a rupture or anything, but still it could turn into that. So I'm more so saying it just to look out for his health. And, of course, it benefits the team, but at the same time, I think it's a win-win for both parties because he does need to rest that if he really wants to finish out his contract with us. I'd rather him do that than, mess it up during a Kings game or something, an irrelevant game.
Absolutely. All good points, fellas. Now, on to our next team, the Phoenix Suns. All right, now the Phoenix Suns they're first in pace, which really isn't a surprise. All those young guys, Bledsoe, Booker, they like to get up and down. Offensive rating 23rd, defensive rating 25. So this team is pretty bad. They're young, so I mean, you can kind of take some of this with a grain of salt. They're going to lose, lots of bumps. What else do you got for us, Lance, on the Suns?
They're out of their last 10, they're 4-6. I mean, it's not. I guess not too bad, but it's not good or even mediocre. I know Brandon Knight's not having a great year, and I believe that he's coming off the bench. Am I correct? For most of his games?
Yeah, he's coming off the bench. Yeah, he started the other day, but that was with T.J. Warren still out. That's another thing I wanted to bring up. He's been really good for them. He's been out for a few weeks now. I think Tucker might have been. I don't, but Knight did start one game just because of injury. But he is the 6th man, and that's not really working out for him.
And it's. I mean, you would think it would because he's seeing second, third units, and he's averaging a career low 37% field goal. So, and that's coming off the bench. You're not seeing like top tier point guards, top tier shooting guards most of the time.
Yeah, so, I think a lot of that may have to do because he obviously does not want to come off the bench. He wants to start. Right. I'm sure a lot of it is just his attitude,
Well, we can agree that when they did that move, that it was mind-boggling. I never thought it made sense
to bring him off the bench.
No. To have him and Bledsoe side by side in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it made no sense. I thought it made more sense for him to stay in Milwaukee because I thought he was doing a decent job there, from what I can remember. But I never thought it made sense. I don't see how they just didn't cut their losses like a season ago. I don't understand.
Phoenix Sun, they got a horrible owner as well. That's another team. But
they're depots, right?
Yeah, we can get into that another day. Gonzo, what do you got for us on the Suns?
Kind of what Lance is saying. They have a lot of, I want to say, the good wrong pieces on one team. A lot of good wrong pieces that I put together. Like Brandon Knight, and I said that the same thing in the past. Why was Brandon Knight traded from Milwaukee? He was turning into an all-star. Like, I think he was averaging like 19.5. He's shooting like 40+%. Like, he was actually really, really, really good. And then you just trade him to a Phoenix team. Like, who thinks this is a good idea to have Bledsoe, Brandon Knight, and Devin Booker all together? First of all, they're all undersized. They're not really big. And you got all these guys playing in the backcourt. You swapping them in and out of the lineup. And all of these guys need the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who thinks this is a good idea? I mean, but like I say, Phoenix hasn't been a really good franchise since Steve Nash and the roster they had back then.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be a lottery pick team for the next few years. I don't see major improvements with this team. I think they have a lot of, like I said, they have a lot of good players, but I think they have a lot of inconsistent players. Brandon Knight is inconsistent now.
Mm-hmm.
Bledsoe is inconsistent. Devin Booker, who I think will develop into a very good shooting guard, he's very inconsistent. I think he's more inconsistent of the two.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, I mean, you can't expect much him being just turning 20 years old, so
young,
he's going to be
know,
inconsistent.
And my hope, honestly, for that franchise is that hopefully Marquise Chris and Dragan Bender, hopefully they can be the stars.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I mean, and T.J. Warren, because T.J. Warren has the size. You know that you can't teach size. He can score. He has the build. He has the height. Dragan Bender has the height. I believe he can. I believe he can be a great scorer. Marquise Chris, he can run the floor. He has height. You know, and in the NBA now, I think you need athleticism and height. You honestly need that. That's why teams like Boston, which I like, they won't be as successful as you would like them to be because you have a point guard who's 5'7", and I'm not taking anything away from Isaiah Thomas, but he's small. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You got Avery Bradley, who's small. You know, going up against guys like Russell Westbrook, who are a legit 6'4". You know, 195 pounds. That's kind of hard to deal with on a night in, night out basis. Same thing, Kyrie, maybe 6'1", 6'3", great handle with the ball. All these guards are pretty much bigger than these guys. You know, so I don't know. I wish the best for Phoenix because I would like to see Phoenix back in the playoffs eventually. But as of right now, and looking into the near future, I don't.
I think they're going to have to move on as well from obviously Brandon Knight. They got to find a way to get him out of there. It's just not going to work. Tyson Chandler's another one I think they should move on from. See what you can get out of Alex Len. It'll open up more minutes for Dragan Bender, who he's obviously going to be inconsistent. He's 18, 19 years old. I think he still might have just turned 19. But, I mean, he played overseas, didn't get huge minutes in those good leagues over there. So see what you can get out of him, develop him. Marcus Chris, another one, came out of college after 1 year, gets in foul trouble, which was his problem in college, fouled out of a ton of games. Just develop these guys. You know, Devin Booker, continue to develop him. I like Dudley being there because you want to have a nice veteran on the roster. You know, P.J. Tucker, another good veteran for the team to have, Barbosa. So you're fine there. T.J. Warren, we got to get him healthy because he really gave them a nice scoring punch, shot a pretty good percentage, gets to the rim, has really improved his three-point shooting. So I think that'll be big to get him back. And I had this team not making the playoffs, but being a lot more competitive, and they've just been downright bad. And they've shown potential because they've played the Warriors tough 2 out of 3 games this year, and we know how good Golden State is. So if you could get that from the Suns every night, they could at least be really competitive. But that's not happening right now. It's going to be interesting what they do going forward, if any trades are made coming up. So we'll have to see. But next on the list, my Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that I was very high on going into the season and probably the most disappointing team this season for me. And they're 20th in pace, 26th in defensive rating, 10th in offensive rating. You know, we know these guys can score. We thought they would be better defensively, especially under Thibodeau. You know, they've got the pieces to play defense, but it just doesn't seem like they're buying in completely. I think maybe it's the youth. We'll see a different change in coaching style because, you know, we know how Tibbs is. And then also they've really, given up a lot of leads in the third quarter. They've just been piss poor. So they've got to improve on that. Lance, what do you got for us?
Well, I mean, you pretty much hit on the head in the beginning. Either we had too high of an expectation or they're just really not that good. I mean, I don't understand. They have one of the most influential defensive coaches that we've seen in the league, and they also have one of the more athletic rosters. So you would think athleticism can equal better defense if you give them the right teaching, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe that's not true. Maybe that's just a hot take. I don't know. But I believe it can be true, especially when you have arguably top 20 player in Karl Anthony Towns, and then Wiggins may not be great right now, but he's still really good.
Absolutely.
But it's crazy to me. So I got a stat right here. So in their last 10 games, in 5 of these games, they've given up 110 plus points. So that'll just give you a perspective on their defense. I mean, that's crazy to me on a team like that with a defensive coach like that. They're really disappointing to me. Now, of course, they can still bounce back, but I did not see them being the third worst team in the West.
No.
As we are talking right now at this moment in time.
Absolutely not. Gonzo.
This is my question with this whole thing. Everybody talks about Tia being such a great defensive coach. I got a question to ask. Is it that Tibbs is a great defensive coach, or he's always had players who've always wanted to play defense? Let's go. He was with Boston with Doc Rivers. Kevin Garnett wants to play defense.
Kendrick
Paul
Perkins
Pierce wants to play defense. Kendrick Perkins wants to play defense. Rondo wants to play defense. So your core starting 5 guys pretty much want to play defense. It makes it easy for you to be a good defensive mind when you have guys who want to play defense.
Gonzo, let me say, Gonzo, Rondo ain't been wanting to play defense in a couple years though. So
he did that. He was there before he got injured. Though he was a
Tibbs was there.
Yeah,
I'm not saying just
that's
Tibbs,
but see that
influence.
That's what I think that's what Gonzo's getting at. Is it that Tibbs was great, or is it because he had? And then when he goes to Chicago,
already wanted.
Yeah.
Or did he already have players that wanted to play defense? Let's go to the Bulls. Joakim Noah, he's been a defensive guy since college. Taj Gibson has been a guy who wants to play defense. Jimmy Butler is a guy who wants to play defense. Keith Bogans was not a great defender, but he's a guy who could play some defense on the perimeter.
They had a Sheik likes to play defense.
A Sheik likes to play defense. So we give him Thibodeau all of this credit, talking about how this is a great defensive coach. I think we get personalities mixed up and confused. And what I mean by that is Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's a dog. And I like Russell Westbrook. I think he's a good player, great player. He's doing a good job with the team. I give him credit. But I think people get because a person's moving fast and they making faces after dunk. Oh, he's an alpha dog. Why? Because he's making faces. He's showing expression, but he makes a lot of bonehead mistakes late in fourth quarters.
All right, I'll give you this, Gonzo. You are kind of making some fair points, but I don't want to get too carried away because this is just his first year with them, and also it's his only first team I've ever seen play like this. So I don't want to go over and say that he might not be a great.
That's why I think we got to take their youth into consideration, because if you really look at this roster, the only guy who's kind of on this roster been known for a guy who really will kind of get after it defensively is Rubio. He's been known as a guy who's going to play some defense for you, so you're not really worried about him. Levine, absolutely capable of being a defender. Wiggins, another one. Towns. But I don't know if they're buying in. Jang has not really been great defensively, and we know he can defend. I just don't know. It's almost like they're so worried about scoring, because their scoring was so bad before, but now they're top 10. We know they can put points on the board. They just cannot defend.
I think that even with the offense, I think the offense is they're putting up the numbers on offense because they have the talent. But I think the coaching, and let's be honest, I think the coaching has something to do with their offensive consistency not being able to maintain. Because let's look at the Bulls teams. The Bulls teams, they really didn't have, under Thibodeau, they really didn't have an offensive. They had no offensive mind at all.
Except Rose.
Rose was the only one.
Rose. That's the only one. But that's part of that is because they really had they weren't able to score like they could because they really didn't have the talent. See, Minnesota has the talent, but now you need coaching to kind of push this consistency with this team.
But isn't that a positive towards Tibbs to get them that far, even with such a low offense, efficiency or just dependency on any kind of offense? I guess you could say.
Not necessarily, because let's think of it this way: if you can score 88 points in the NBA game, but you got enough guys on defense to hold people to 86, I mean, you got a good defensive team. But that offense is still lacking in the NBA. 88 points is not good enough.
That's kind of how those old Mike Fratello Cavs teams were. They had some talent.
Game. My goodness.
They had some talent, those Fratello Cavs teams, but they would hold teams to 88, 89 points while they get 91 or 92. That's kind of what Tibbs was. But this thing with the Timberwolves is they can get 100 every game.
But
The problem is like the opposite. They can score, but they can't stop anybody.
And part of this because do they really have guys who can see? Another thing we get confused. Andrew Wiggins has a lengthy body, but does he want to play defense?
That's the thing. No, he doesn't. He's very lazy on the defensive end.
Like Tayshaun Prince wasn't a great scorer. He was lengthy, but he liked playing defense and he wanted to. That's what made him effective. See, defense is one of those things. I don't think you have to have a skill for defense because we know the game is mainly offensive. I just believe that if you really want to just shuffle your feet to left to right and extend your arms like you want to, you can play defense if you try.
Look at the thing, like, and we use this as an example all the time because he's kind of the perfect player. JJ Redick wants to play defense and is a pretty good defensive player.
Yes.
He was playing the Cavs the other day. Kyrie tried to put a move on him. JJ defended him beautifully. And he's not the most athletic guy. He doesn't move his feet the best. He wants to get after it and play defense, though.
He just wants to try to play defense.
Okay, well, let's just say this, Gonzo. We'll agree to disagree for now.
Fair enough.
Cool?
That's fair.
Fair enough.
All right,
fair enough.
Okay.
All right. Now what we'll do is we'll go to the next team, and that's the New Orleans Pelicans. And the Pelicans are 11th in pace, 13th in defensive rating, 25th in offensive rating. I'm not going to say much. I'm going to go to you, Lance, because we kind of know why some of these stats are the way they are with the Pelicans.
Oh, don't worry, man. I ain't got much to say. I mean, they're just injured. They're horrible when they're not injured. God bless Drew Holiday and the tragedy in his family. All respect to that man. And it doesn't help that when he comes back, I believe he's hurt right now. Last time I checked, he had some kind of foot injury, turf toe or something like that. I don't know if that's still a thing as of right now. I believe Tyreek Evans is still hurt, and he's still questionable in my eyes. I know he has skill set as far as like ball handling and stuff, but I just don't think he makes the right decisions even when he's healthy. Let's just say this, man. That's all I have left to say. Anthony Davis should have never signed the extension. I'm sorry. Never should have done it. Why do you think Chris Paul wanted to leave, man? He did all he could, and they're not trying to spend money on any like real players. And I mean, come on, dude. Look at these castaways they're giving him, man.
And nobody's gonna want to go to New Orleans anyways.
Dude, they got Asik on the contract for what, 3 seasons, 2 more seasons, and he's almost unplayable in this day and age.
Yep.
So that's all I got to say. I don't want to speak too much on them. We already spent enough time already as it is.
What do you got, Gonzo, on the Pelicans?
Anthony Davis is the biggest bright spot. No playoff anytime soon. I feel sorry for that organization.
Short and sweet. I was hoping that we would get a little bit out of Buddy Hield this year. He's been extremely disappointing. Plays yesterday. I think he went 2 for 12 yesterday, like 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. He's just been – it's not – and he doesn't look lost out there, but like they brought him in there to be a shooter and to space the floor to help Anthony Davis. And the thing they brought him in to do, he can't do right now. I think he's shooting like 21%, 22% from the 3-point line, some god-awful number like that. So that to me has been a big thing for them, especially with all these injuries. It really was going to give him a chance to play and show what he can do. And it's surprising, too, being a 4-year college guy. Usually those guys are ready to come in and play a little bit, but he's been awful for them. He's not doing what they needed him to do. Tim Frazier's been a nice bright spot for this team. I didn't think he'd do what he's doing. He's been decent. But just the roster is just very flawed. There's just not a lot of talent on this roster. And I'm surprised they've got as many wins as they do, even with Anthony Davis as great as he's been. It's going to wear him down, though. So hopefully he gets out of there or they can bring in some help via trade because that's not exactly a free agent destination. So they're gonna have to get creative with that roster. But we'll see what happens with them. And with that, we'll go to our next team, the Denver Nuggets. Let's get some stats on the Nuggets. They are 5th in pace, 24th in defense, 20th in offense. A lot of actual talent on this team, but I don't know if it all goes together. You got a lot of big guys. The guard position hasn't been too bad just because guys have been hurt, so they haven't had to worry about playing time. But once everybody's healthy, that's another position. Someone's going to sit. You've got Gary Harris, you got Moutier, you got Jamal Murray, Barton, and Jameer Nelson. Someone's going to sit, maybe even two guys. What do you got, Lance?
I will say right now, Wilson Chandler is definitely their brightest spot. I mean, he's averaging a career high 18 points. Jamal Murray seems like a decent rookie. He can score some double-digit games, but since his 20-point game against the Suns, I believe that was about 5 games ago.
He had 22 the other day against the Nets, or not the was it the Nets? Or just the other day?
But
against
I'm not
the Wizards.
Saying, like of all season, I'm saying it's been about his last 4 games. He hasn't had double digits, and there's 1 or 2 goose eggs.
He had 1 game against the Wizards, I believe. He got in the 20s. A couple games ago.
Yeah, I think it was like 5.
Was it 5? I know he got 20 the other day.
Because after I saw that he had 20 or 25, I mean it was like 9, 8, and then there was like a goose egg or 2. He's still, I mean, it's still pretty good. I mean, he's a rookie. It's going to be inconsistent. I don't expect him to be perfect. I like Gallinari, but he's not having a great year this year. And you know how he has the knee problems. I mean, I wish he would have got traded to like a playoff contender years ago. I don't know what his value is anymore. But I'm just happy to see Wilson Chandler balling out right now because I always thought he had the capability. It's just he had, injuries and things of that nature as well. I mean, they have a bunch of bigs. Oh, my goodness. I mean, they could really go on a fire sale if they wanted to. They have so much quality players on decent contracts.
Mm-hmm. You got Fareed. You got Jokic, Nurkic. Mm-hmm. They've got guys. You got a plethora of guards, big guys, and talented quality NBA players. See, I think that's probably one of the biggest things with this team. They've just got so many guys that are deserving of playing time, and they're just not going to get it. So obviously, guys are going to be unhappy. Gonzo, what do you got for us with the Denver Nuggets?
First thing I heard you say, they were 5th in pace and they're like 20 or something in offense and then 20 or something in defense. Mm-hmm. Just means pretty much they're going fast and going nowhere. And absolutely nothing. Yes. They have a lot, like I said, they have a lot of so-called talent on their team that absolutely nobody really wants except for maybe Gallinari. Moody is a disappointment. He's an absolute disappointment at this point. What's it? Jurkic and what's
Jurkic and Jokic.
They could be some decent guys. Somebody starting lineup or possibly off the bench. Jameer Nelson at this point in his career, I mean, he's okay, but he wouldn't be too useful. They just don't have it. Nope. Kenneth Fareed, didn't want to skip him. I think that he's just the rebounding, dunking machine. Outside of that, he's not good at anything else. I mean,
he brings a lot of energy.
Yeah, but I mean, energy doesn't really count to wins. I mean,
I think
bringing energy has always. I heard this saying once. If all you can say about it is a guy brings really good energy, and he plays hard, it means he sucks.
Okay, so that means Tristan Thompson sucks then, because that's pretty much what I think of him. Don't you think?
Yeah, but he's not. Tristan Thompson's not the key. He's not the greatest basketball player.
I'm not saying he is either, but he gets a lot of rebounds.
He plays defense though. That's a skill.
At moments, yeah, and especially in the playoffs. I'm just saying. I don't like him a lot. Trust me, I don't like him a lot. But I don't want to just discredit a certain intangible and say, well, that just means they're sorry. Fareed has shown that he can put up numbers. I mean, I just think he needs to change the scenery if we're going to be honest.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gonzo. You were about to say something.
Tristan Thompson, hold on. That's a totally different animal. This guy performs in the playoffs. What did Dick Vitale say? PTPer. He's a prime time performer. He plays games. I haven't seen Kenneth Fareed play great in a playoff game yet, especially like Tristan Thompson.
Because they don't go to the playoffs.
That's the point. He's not doing enough. Look, even Joakim Noah, I said this years ago about Joakim Noah, when he was in all these defensive games, that he's a great energy guy. He brings, it's almost like I had a conversation with a friend of mine one time. We were talking about the Bears. And we were talking about a lot of the Bears' great linebackers between 2000 and like 2010. We were talking about Roosevelt Colvin, not to jump on football, but I just want to make a point. We talk about Urlacher, we talk about Lance Briggs. Then he said Hunter Hillemeyer, and I looked at him and said, what about Hunter Hillemeyer? He says, he's just really cerebral. I said, well, what does cerebral show up on the stat sheet? Because he's not doing anything. He's just out there with a whole bunch of other good players, and he's just cerebral, but everybody else is performing. Stop with these titles.
Look, man, Fareed was on I believe he was on
No.
the FIBA team. It's not like he's just some guy. I mean, he's done
Hey,
things. He's noticing the league for things.
He shouldn't even been on the FIBA team.
Oh, man. Hey.
Yes.
Hey, I'm just glad that we can make the show interesting so we're not agreeing on everything because it gets more than we do. I'll say that much.
We got to stop with the titles.
Yes.
Yeah, Nuggets is just it. Forget about it. There's no playoff for them. They need help from top to bottom.
And we can't say that's not a free agent destination after all the things you can do in Colorado now. So I'm sure people want to go there.
I would.
That's
more than
true.
they did 5 years ago.
That's true. That's true. I think we've gone on long enough about the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
Let's go to the worst franchise in all of sports, the Sacramento Kings. 22nd in pace, 15th in offensive rating, 22nd in defensive rating. Once again, another below average season going on for the Sacramento Kings. What do you got, Lance?
Oh, let me tell you what I read right when I woke up this morning on my Bleacher Report.
This have to do with DeMarcus Cousins and Matt Barnes?
Yes, the
Go ahead.
NYPD closing in on arrest of Matt Barnes per New York Daily News. Now, who didn't see that coming when they signed him? I mean, come on, man! Like,
what did I?
Media,
We got to remember, Lance. What did I just say? The worst franchise in professional sports.
The guy had the audacity to say they can. What was he saying? They could run like 4-on-5 or something. He's like, oh yeah, watch my little girls basketball game, and they got an inspired.
Yeah, Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the team.
What does that mean? I mean, DeMarcus Cousins is having a career high in 3-point percentage and points, but it don't matter because they suck.
And here's how you know this is the worst run franchise in sports. When we go to Kings, and the first thing that's said is Matt Barnes might be arrested soon. And Cousins is involved in it too as well.
Yeah, I mean, they were online drinking Hennessy after a game and going out. I mean, who didn't see something bad happen?
It was 3 a.m.
I mean, dude, drinking Hennessy at 3 a.m. There's nothing good that comes.
Absolutely,
man.
And absolutely.
You're the guy.
Absolutely.
Sorry, man. I don't want to talk. Gonzo, you can talk.
Go ahead, Gonzo. I'm gonna let you go with the Sacramento Kings for a minute here.
You know, that whole organization is full of head cases. First of all, ownership is messed up. Second of all, they've been hiring coaches like George Karl, and they got rid of Malone, who I think was actually a good fit in Sacramento. Somebody's a head case for making those decisions anyway, getting rid of Malone and brought in George Karl. Yeah, right. He's one of the best coaches in NBA history. Yeah, and he's probably one of the best coaches to leave in the first round in the playoffs in the NBA history too. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of head case players. Ty Lawson, past alcohol problems. Matt Barnes, domestic problems. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. It was a domestic problem he had before, right?
He was going to go beat up Derek Fisher.
The thing with this is it's a woman that's
assault charges. I'm sorry.
That's what this is. That's what you're probably talking about.
Yeah, okay. DeMarcus Cousins, head case. Derek Collison, he just hit a woman not too long ago. Head case. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got a lot of head cases on this team from top to bottom. Trust me, it's not getting better anytime soon until you start cleaning the house. It's just the way it works.
Gonzo, no. Shaq's gonna have to just sell his part because I don't think he wants to be a part of this that much longer, man.
I wouldn't want to.
I'm sorry, I wouldn't.
You don't. Shaq doesn't want his name associated with this franchise. It's a joke. It's always gonna be a joke until they clean house. They need to just break that whole thing apart, ownership, everything. Just get them the hell out of there and just start from scratch. Move the damn city away. I know they just built a new arena, but just move the damn team away to a new city. They need to start fresh because this is just not working out. This team has been putrid for far too long. And with that said, let's go to the Los Angeles Lakers, who've been much better this year than most of us anticipated. At 10-14, but that's a big improvement. I thought this team was going to really stink this year. Plus they've had some injuries, so there's that. But with the Lakers, they're 26th in pace, or 6th in pace. They're 18th with the offensive rating, and they're dead last in defense, which is not surprising with these young guys. What do you got, Lance?
Okay, so they've lost the last 4 of the last 5 games, but Russell and Nick Young have been out. I mean, we've seen them play together. That Hey, I don't compliment the Lakers that much. I will say I actually like watching them play now. I like the way they're, and this is another cliche phrase I keep hearing, but they're falling into the system. You know, they're going for it. They're believing everything that's being told to them
They
by
play
Luke
hard.
Walton. You know, but also just one thing, I don't like Dang being on this team. I know they need like a quality leader veteran like on the team, but I always thought that was weird when they got him. I thought he was going to really go to a team that was going to be relevant. I just hate seeing guys like that have performed pretty well, like especially him on the defensive side, even though he's probably not the same defensive player. I still think he should be on a team that matters in the grand scheme of things with playoffs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say they're heading into the right direction, and I'm excited to see them in the next 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. Gonzo, what do you got with the Lakers?
Lakers, me, honestly, I don't really have too much to say about them. I think they're ahead of the curve. I was expecting them to be somewhere close to the bottom due to the fact that they're youth and they have a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually way ahead of the curve. At one point in time, they were like number 7th or number 8th, and then think about it now, they've fallen off because they've had a few injuries to the key players like D'Angelo Russell. So I mean that's understandable to take a fall like that when you lose one of your young guys.
Absolutely.
But for the most part, I think they played well as a team. Defense, I wasn't really expecting them to play a whole lot of defense due to the fact they're young and they don't really have a lot of defensive players. Nick Young is not a defensive player. Jordan Clarkson is not a defensive player. Lou Williams is not a defensive player. D'Angelo Russell is not even a defensive player. So you really wouldn't expect a lot of defense. The only defensive player you might say is a defensive player is obviously Timothy Mozgov and Lou Alding, and who's gotten older now. He's not playing defense like he used to. I mean, that's to be expected with age. But other than that, they're ahead of the curve. Me personally, I think if Russell comes back in time, I think they still have a chance for the 8th spot as of now.
And Russell just got reevaluated. He could come back as early as I think sometime this weekend. Not tonight, but this weekend sometime. But they're looking at maybe Monday. I think Monday or Tuesday. So he should be back in the next couple games at least. So that's going to be a big help. And they'll get Nick Young back eventually.
Mm-hmm. I still think they have a shot at making the AFC because right now it's one particular team I think that easily comes out of that top AFC, and that's the Trailblazers. I think they can take that spot.
Hey, that is a perfect segue, Gonzo. We're going to go to the Portland Trailblazers. Gonzo was reading my mind. They're 8th in pace, 25th defensive rating, 23rd in offensive rating. Actually, I'm going to go to Gonzo first on this one, Lance, since he was about Gonzo. What do you got on Portland Trailblazers?
The Portland Trailblazers, another team, going fast but going nowhere and doing nothing. Look, this is another case where if you're a 5 seed last year, look, if you don't do something big in free agency, you're going to miss out. It's just that simple. When you got guys like Kevin Durant going to Golden State, and you see Paul Gasol going to San Antonio, and you see these things taking place, that means 9 times out of 10 you should have a queue somewhere to start getting on your free agent hustle. You got to start getting guys there because right now this is what's happening to Portland right now. They don't have enough pieces added to that puzzle to make them even better, or at least keep that spot they had last year because other teams have gotten so much better than them. I don't know what people are thinking, and not to make a mockery of any other movement, but I just want to point something out to Trailblazers. Look, big guys matter. Good big guys matter. Mm-hmm. Look, you need a big guy. I'm sorry. All the teams we got in the league right now, every team just about has a good big guy. Minnesota, Karl Anthony Towns. Sacramento, DeMarcus Cousins. New Orleans Pelicans, Anthony Davis. Blake Griffin. You got 2 big guys, and they're not even big position in Kevin Durant sometime at power forward, Draymond Green at power forward. You got Paul Gasol, LaMarcus Aldridge in San Antonio. Don't let anybody deceive you. You don't need a big guy now. You think you can just do it with 2 guards in the backcourt, 2 small guards in the backcourt. It's not going to work. You got to have a skilled big guy. I'm sorry. And until they get that memo, they'll be sitting right where they're at.
Absolutely. Lance, what do you got with the Portland Trailblazers?
I mean, with them, I honestly thought they should have went for Dwight Howard. I mean, a real big defensive player, not just like a hustle kind, but one that actually can change the game defensively with more than just a couple plays. I mean, actually be there consistently. And I think that would be a great place for him. I think he'd get a lot of love in a small pond like that of Portland. But also, I don't know. I just thought they maybe should just let Crabbe leave. And I don't think Evan Turner's really that great to really sign him for all that money. But from the stats that I gathered, I mean, they're 5-5 in their last 10 games, so that's just mediocre right there. It's just not great basketball. And they're some of their stats offensively, I guess, are misleading to the record. I mean, they are second in points per game and fifth in assists. And I looked up a lot of their shooting categories, and they're up there, but it's just not translating to actually.
They don't play any defense.
Yeah, exactly. And we've never mistaken, Lillard or McCollum for great defensive players. But that's what I'm saying. They should have got a real rim protector. I mean, Plumlee and them, that's not a real rim protector.
They do have Festus Ezeli, which if he were healthy would help a lot.
And also,
but he's just not there.
And I think Aminu's been hurt as well, right?
Yeah, he's been out. Yeah, he's back, but he's coming off the bench right now.
Right. And I don't know, man. I think they'll be fine, but I mean, I think the Lakers are only 4 games out of the 8th seed right now, so it's not like Portland's just gonna be, trailing, like literally, like just smooth sailing. Like the Lakers are only 4 behind, and they're having some players come back from injury, so they
Portland's
might be
in
able to
trouble.
catch up.
I think a lot of people got fooled last year with how well Portland did. They shocked everybody, winning as many games. I didn't think they were going to be very good. They looked decent against Golden State. Guys like Crabbe showed out a little bit. So I think the expectations were pretty high with this club. But I think they kind of caught everybody off guard. Now everyone's ready for them. So they're getting game planned differently. Evan Turner has just been a bust. Crabbe has not been the guy they want him to be. And this is what that tells me maybe. And maybe I'm just too early to say this. Is Crabbe one of those guys who got his money and doesn't give a damn anymore?
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time.
That's what I'm saying. You often wonder. Look at a guy like Ilyasova. He was balling out. Got that contract, didn't do nothing. He's an expiring contract this year. He's up for a new deal. He's playing good now. So you see these guys all the time, so you just hope that that's not Crabbe. That he's not just a lazy bum. Got his money, so now I just won't play hard anymore.
Yep.
That's what I worry about with Crabbe. Any one of these guys when they get their big deals like that, Crabbe did nothing before last year. Has a great year. Ironically, it's his contract season. Now he gets the contract, and he's had a below average season. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I think getting Festus Ezeli will be a big thing. We'll get a chance to really see if he's maybe going to help them at all. We'll see. But that will lead us into our next team, which is the Utah Jazz, who just came off of an interesting game last night with the Golden State Warriors. They got down big, fought back without, George Hill, no Gordon Hayward, obviously no Faves. But they played really hard last night, kept it close for a little bit. But they're 30th in pace, which they slowed down. That was their thing last year. 8th in defensive rating, 6th in offensive rating. And, I think with all the injuries, when you look at the offense and the defensive rating, that tells you right there why they're winning games even with all these injuries. Lance.
All right, well, I'm going to say it right now. They honestly should be a top 5 to top 4 team in the West. It's just they've had an injury-riddled season. I mean, the last 10 games are 7-3. They're 4th in field goal percentage. I mean, George Hill is pretty much career highs in points per game in three-point shooting.
Yep.
But he's been hurt, and I mean, I think Favors is hurt still, right?
Yeah. And they're 14-10 right now with all those injuries.
Yeah, they could really be top 5 or top 4.
And here's the interest. Here's a fun fact. Keith is the one who brought it up about 10 days ago. Utah is, I think, 6-0 or 7-0 when George Hill and Gordon Hayward both play. So that's something to think about. Gonzo, what do you got on the Utah Jazz?
A Utah team I could see very well being much higher. Honestly, if they're healthy, I think they can be better than the Clippers. They have a lot of good talent on the bench. The starting lineup is pretty skilled. I think the addition of George Hill has made them a much better team. I'm impressed with what they're doing despite the injuries. I mean, they're in 7th place.
Yeah.
And I mean, even with all the injuries, they're 7-5, 7-5 at home, and 7-5 on the road, and 7-3 in the last 10. I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm. And you know what a lot of that is, and he's going to get a lot of credit, but at the same time, you know, the big name, George Hill and Gordon Hayward are the two names here, but it's Rudy Gobert. They are not able to do all this defensively if they don't have Rudy Gobert. Yep. Watching, I don't know, did you guys see any of the game last night against Golden State?
No, I didn't get to watch it.
There are times, and I saw it when they played the Rockets last week, when the Rockets played Utah, teams are scared to go inside it when Rudy Gobert is on the floor. Curry thought he had a layup. He jumps it. He goes right and just keeps dribbling along the baseline and gets out of his way. On one, he thought he had a layup. He throws it away because Gobert was there. So it allows their perimeter defenders to be super aggressive out there, and they can funnel everything to Gobert, which is what they did against the Rockets. You just funneled James Harden to Rudy Gobert. That's not going to work out very well because Gobert is second in blocks, I think 2.7 blocks a game, and he changes so many shots at the rim. The guy's been really fantastic. His offense is improving. He's posting career highs on offense and everything. His free throw percentage is getting better. Yep. This is going to be a really tough team to beat. This team, to me, if I'm the Golden State Warriors, this is the team I don't want to play when they're fully healthy. This would be the one team that scares me the most. And usually the teams who slow it down don't give the Warriors problems, but this team will.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, they will. You got anything else for us, Gonzo?
No, not at all.
All right. Let's go to our next team. Very controversial team from time to time, especially amongst our following here, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes, we've talked about this, specifically Russell Westbrook, many times. But they are 4th in pace, 16th in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating.
That's surprising to me. I'm not going to lie, the defensive rating.
No, not really when you look at some of the individual guys they have out there.
Well, I guess Adams?
Adams is going to defend. You got Oladipo's going to defend for you.
Well,
Sabonis will play
not really. No.
He's off the bench though, and he doesn't get huge. Sabonis will play a little defense for you, and then of course you got Roberson, and Westbrook will get after it defensively. He gambles a lot, but he'll get after it. Gonzo, what do you got for us?
Okay, See, I'm going with the eye test, but I'm also going with the fact that they've only played 2 division games. And not to mention, we keep saying that defensive rating is so deceptive when you play Philadelphia, Phoenix, and you played a lot of weaker teams early on in the year. So, I mean, so it's kind of deceiving. It makes you think that they're really playing defense when they really haven't been playing really good competition. Like I said, they're protecting home court. They're 9-4. On the road, they're 5-4. I think they're going to struggle a lot on the road this year. Right now, what I would call the Thunder is very lucky.
Mm-hmm. They have. I was going to mention they really don't have a lot of quality wins this year. The Rockets is probably their best win, I would think. But that game is a little misleading in that I don't believe Patrick Beverley played that game, and also the Rockets were still finding themselves adjusting to this new system of D'Antoni. It'll be interesting tonight. They are playing again tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes tonight because that one went down to the wire. But I think that's the one thing with Oklahoma City. Well, they got a win against the Clippers. They were the first team to beat them in that first 10 or 12 games, so that was big. True. But they've got 2 quality wins.
They beat them 85-83. They were lucky.
They still beat them in Los Angeles. It's a quality win, but 2 quality wins is not enough though.
In your conference too, 2 quality wins in your conference. So.
And they've struggled, and some of their wins against the Sixers, Orlando, they struggled to win those games. Just as Gonzo was saying, their defensive numbers may be a little inflated because of the bad schedule. And I looked when we were getting into that debate last week with our good friend John Markish about Russell Westbrook. He mentioned the record and all that, and then I went and looked at a stat, and this was a couple weeks ago. They haven't played anybody really since, so the record, I'm sure it hasn't changed. But they did 26th. They had they were 26th in strength of schedule. So they're not playing anybody. But they are 14-8, which I'm sure is probably better than some people thought. I had them finishing 4th this year in the West. They're close. We'll see if that continues. But they've got to get some more quality wins. Tonight's a good test for them. We'll see how they do against the Rockets. Should be an exciting game. Westbrook, Harden. We'll see what happens. But that's going to lead me to the Houston Rockets, who I guess some people are surprised by the success they've had. I had them finishing 5th. So they're kind of where I thought they'd be for the most part, but they're 10th in pace, 21st in defensive rating, 4th in offensive rating, and I don't think they're as bad defensively as the numbers say they are. I've watched them a few times this year, and they're a lot better defensively, I think, than they're given credit for. But there's just so many possessions in the game with this team. What do you got for us, Lance, with the Rockets?
Well, they're 8-2 in their last 10, so that's impressive. Of course, James Harden is pretty much perfecting the Dan D'Antoni system. It's wonderful to watch, man. I usually don't enjoy watching James Harden.
And they beat the Golden State Warriors.
Yes, they did. I mean, they have some quality wins, and no surprise, their first in three-pointers made and attempted. They're 5th in the three-point percentage, but also this is what interests me. I mean, they're 3rd in assists, and I know that Harden gets a lot, but that's saying something when Harden is pretty much holding the ball the whole time. So it's not just Harden that's getting assists here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
and
the
Harden,
most interesting stat to me.
And the thing with Harden is, like, I used to think all those assist numbers he piled up before this year, to me, were a lot like Westbrook assists. But this year, he's actually running the offense, and he's actually trying to get guys the ball and get them in spots to score. So he's actually making his teammates better this year. Unlike, I don't think he was doing that in the past. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion. Maybe it's not. But that was what I saw. But this year, I see a different James Harden. He's getting after it defensively a little bit, which is a good thing because that was always the biggest knock. He's still not a great defender, but he's improving, which is a good sign. Gonzo, what do you got with the Rockets?
Rockets, a big turnaround. I think the addition of Ryan Anderson has helped out a lot. The emergence of Clint Capella, he gets a lot of us. James Harden gets a lot of his assists from Clint Capella, but I mean, Clint Capella is doing what he needs to do. Eric Gordon coming off the bench, Patrick Beverly's back. Everything it seems like it's coming together at the right time for them. Not to mention they're 9-5 on the road, which is really good on the road, and they're 6-2 at home, and they're 8-2 in the last 10.
Is it fair to say, Gonzo? Is it unfair to say Mike D'Antoni's not a very good coach?
No, that's not true.
That would be unfair.
I agree.
That's totally unfair. I think a lot of times, what we consider, we take away from D'Antoni because we say he doesn't play defense, and I don't think that's the case. I've seen him make a lot of defensive adjustments.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just more offensively grounded. His team is more so focused on what they're doing on the offensive end than really what they have to do on the defensive end because they're doing so much on offense that it kind of negates what they really have to do on defense because they're scoring so much. And the fact that they're taking so many shots. So I'm not going to say he's not even a defense. He doesn't use defense. I think I've seen a lot of adjustments this year.
Yeah, they can get stops.
I'm impressed. Like I said again, right now I've said this, and I'm thinking the shows we've done before the season started, we're doing the team previews. That right now, if the Warriors were to play a team like the Jazz in the first round, if the Jazz knocks off the Warriors, I see the Houston Rockets going to the NBA Finals.
Damn. Woo! Rockets in the finals. Hey.
Heard it here first, guys.
That's it. But you have to remember that. Let's take that. Let's be careful with what he just said, though. If the Warriors were to lose to a team like Utah, which will not happen because Utah's not going to finish 8th.
And that's the thing. If the Golden State would get the wrong matchup at the 8th spot, they could be in trouble if they played a team like the Jazz.
I said, the Jazz are the one team I think they don't want to play. I know the Rockets beat the Warriors. The Rockets aren't beating them in a best of 7. I mean, Curry was god-awful. Klay Thompson was god-awful that game. Draymond Green and Curry both foul out. Ryan Anderson's hitting step-back contested threes with hands in his face. Montrezl Harrell goes nuts. You can't rely on that every single time.
But let's be honest now. The Rockets, I can see the Rockets beating the Trailblazers in the 7-game series.
Oh yeah,
I can see the Rockets beating the Thunder in the 7-game series.
I had the Rockets playing the Thunder in the first round and taking the Thunder out.
I can see the Rockets beating the Grizzlies in the 7-game series. I can see the Rockets beating the Clippers. Guess what? They've already done that.
That is true with the biggest collapse in the history of the game. That was awful.
And the Spurs.
No, it was beautiful. That's what it was.
The Rockets can beat the Spurs.
The Rockets, and you know why? Because the Spurs don't have a rim protector now. James Harden gets to the hole at will.
Mm-hmm.
And when he can't get to the hole, guess what? He can get to the line. That's a problem.
Yep, that's where I think that's another good point there. And we're going to get to the Spurs in a minute, but let's go to once again probably still the most fraudulent team in the NBA, the Los Angeles Clippers. They are 18th in pace, second in defensive rating, fifth in offensive rating. Got off to that super hot start. A lot of people, this is the best team in basketball. You know, the Thunder beat them, but now they look horrible. They absolutely got housed by the Warriors the other night. Lance, what do you got for me on the Clippers?
I mean, they're 5-5 of their last 10. I mean, I've watched a couple of their games where they've really melted down, and including the Nets game. I mean, literally, Doc Rivers almost exploded.
And even though Blake Griffin doesn't play, you still shouldn't lose to the Nets.
You don't go to double overtime against the Nets. No. Especially if CP3 is really an MVP, which I do have him in my top 5. I don't know if he's in my top 5 at this moment. I mean, for goodness sakes, the Warriors literally own the Clippers. Like, they should be part owners. They should get some share in some revenue for the Clippers. Like, they really own them at this point.
Mm-hmm. Like, and that's sad. You would think that a team, this is a team everybody's looking, Eddie Johnson and the Suns guy on NBA, then he does NBA radio, had the Clippers in the finals and all this stuff. And when he said that, I'm thinking to myself, why would you pick this? What has this team done to make you think they're ready to take that next step? They've yet to do.
No.
They look terrible. And you would think a game like the other night, you're playing Golden State in your building, a chance to show you're ready to make that next step, and you lay worse than an egg. You let them come in there and just house you. And Blake Griffin let Draymond Green punk him the entire game. Blake Griffin wanted nothing to do with Draymond Green.
It's
absolutely nothing.
Man. It's psychological. Absolutely. I'm telling you.
JJ Redick wouldn't even take a shot. That was awful. Stephen Curry was for the most part doing a great job on Chris Paul. It was just all around just a terrible outing by the Clippers. Gonzo.
Look, Clippers, fakes, phonies, frauds. And guess what? We've all been hoodwinked, bamboozled, sideswiped for believing that they can actually do something. Look, they should change their names from the Los Angeles Clippers to the Los Angeles Ifers if they get past the first round.
Ooh.
If they beat somebody in the 7-game series. If they make it to the finals. We got to stop. We keep believing in this Los Angeles Clippers team, and honestly, I don't know if they could be any one of these other 7 teams in a 7-game series.
Damn!
Wow.
They are so fraudulent. I see the Grizzlies beating them again in a 7-game series. Damn. I believe the Rockets can do it in a 7-game series.
Well, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I can imagine Westbrook or the Trailblazers beating them in a 7-game series because they absolutely are not beating the Spurs and the Warriors. It's just not going to happen. This team is so fraudulent. I'm disappointed. And it's not even so much the fact you're losing because you know you're going to hit your bumps and bruises in the season. You're going to get some losses. But there's no reason to go to overtime with the Brooklyn Nets. No way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, speaking of the Memphis Grizzlies, theoretically, we kind of got a 3-way tie. I did skip over them and just realized that. But we're going to go to the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies now, they've got with their ratings, we've got 28th in pace. No surprise there. Grit and grind. Offensive rating, 27th. But here we go. Defensive rating first. Lance, what do you got with the Memphis Grizzlies?
I mean, they are on a 5-game win streak. And, I mean, they're pretty much playing with – I don't want to say nobody's, but it's like almost the same thing as last year. There's a bunch of people that should not be getting a certain amount of playing time that are getting the playing time. And I'm actually thinking, should Marc Gasol be an MVP candidate?
Absolutely.
Like, seriously. I mean, they are almost dead last in field goal percentage. Like, how is that possible in this day and age to be almost dead last in field goal percentage and still be a playoff team in the West?
Because of the best defensive team in the league.
But that's saying something. But look who they're missing. I mean, Conley's going to be gone for a while. I know Chandler Parsons obviously had his injury.
Yeah, Randolph just came back.
Tony Allen was hurt, if I'm not mistaken, for a little bit, right?
Yeah, he was out.
Randolph missed some games due to the loss of, God bless his soul, to his mother. I mean, they're on. I believe Gasol's averaging career high in points. I mean, he's averaging about four assists for
he's
center.
shooting, and he's making threes.
Yes, I mean, I think I'm putting him in my top 5 MVP candidates list, and I'm taking CP3 out, man. I love CP3, but
there we go. You heard it here first, everyone. Lance has put Marc Gasol in his top 5 MVP rankings. Nice. Gonzo, what do you got on the Grizzlies?
It goes to my point I've been saying. I've been saying this for a while too, about point guards and about big men. When you have a big man, and especially when he's a skilled defender as well, who can shoot, you got a chance. You can put pieces around him, and they don't have to be superstar pieces, but you can put some okay and average and sometimes some good pieces together with a good big man, and you can make some things happen and get yourself into a playoff spot. And it's evident in what's going on right now. They're 9-4 at home, 7-4 on the road, 7-3 in the last 10, 5-game winning streak, and guess what? They're first in defense. Look, their field goal percentage might be low as a team, but check this. My field goal percentage can be low if I'm making everybody else's field goal percentages a lot lower.
Absolutely. Now, they're going to get a test tomorrow night, though. They got the Golden State Warriors coming in.
I don't expect them to beat them. I mean, but
it's going to. But are they going to be able to hold the Warriors under their offensive numbers? I think that's the key to look for.
We'll say this: they got more hearts than the Clippers do, so it won't be no crazy blowout. I don't think. I'm telling you right now, it won't be no crazy blowout.
I could see a blowout, but more of a blowout in the style of like a slow one.
Maybe like 15 or 20. I think maybe like 20 points, but I don't think they're gonna have I don't think they'll have like a 30 point.
No, they're not going to run the score up on them quick. Yeah. It's going to be what I like to call a slow death.
Explain.
Yeah. And another thing too.
Go ahead, Gonzo.
Oh, another thing. Shout out to Fizdale. He's doing a great job coaching.
Absolutely. Well, Lance, what I mean by slow death is kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts. You start out, you got a 4-point lead, it creeps up to 8. By the third quarter, you're up 12, and then it gets up to 20. Not one where they just get up 30 quick and just kind of hold it the whole game.
Right.
They'll slowly build it.
Like they pretty much did against the Clippers. Like they were on a saddle and they were just doing that.
Yeah, it's not going to be like that where they just beat the snot out of them.
Yeah, no.
It'll be one of those games where they might win by 20, but the score, it's going to be a closer game than the score indicates.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I'm going. But that's going to bring us to our second to last team, the San Antonio Spurs. Consistency once again. But with the Spurs, 27th in pace, 7th in offensive rating, 10th in defensive rating, which is surprising, but no, because as Gonzo said, they don't really have that rim protection with Duncan being gone. You replace him with Gasol. We know what he is defensively. Lance, what do you got with me on the Spurs?
I mean, they're 13-1 on the road. I mean, they gave up to a charity called Chicago Bulls, so they gave them a win.
Damn.
But I mean, they're pretty much doing what I thought they would do, and a little better on defense. I mean, I know it's top 10, but it's with Gasol and Aldridge as your main bigs. I mean, I don't think that's pretty good defensively.
I think Pete was onto something. They should start Dedmon.
And that's an energy guy. I mean, he's not bad. I don't want to.
They're going to improve defensively,
but he's not bad. And for what they're paying him, I think he's doing a decent job. I mean, Leonard's averaging a career high. I mean, he's a MVP candidate. Like, you don't really have to say much about them. The reputation speaks for itself. I think they'll be just fine. I really think they felt sorry for the Bulls and the fan base, and wanted to give them a little something to look forward to.
Yeah, damn, that's tough. Gonzo, what do you got on the San Antonio Spurs?
Spurs, they always have a chance, especially when you're 13-1 on the road. You're excellent on the road, have a chance, especially right now. The home record doesn't look as great because they've been playing so many road games. I'm expecting the home record to obviously improve once they get on a home where they get on a trip where they're staying at home for a period of time and not on the road as much later on down the season. Popovich just a great coach. He has the right pieces put together. They need a rim protector. I think they should play Dedmon a little more. Hopefully, they can pick somebody up before the deadline or pick somebody up off the free agent wire. Get somebody in there that can at least be a rim protector, in that star lineup.
Maybe they can swindle Nerlens Noel from the Sixers.
Yeah, hopefully. That would work. That would work really great for the Spurs. But like I said, I see them. Like I said, possible championship contender.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't change. I've never really see that changing with the Spurs. I think they have their front office is good, their coaching staff is good, and they just know how to put the right players with their coach. So they're always going to be worked out pretty well. So.
Yeah, as long as Greg Popovich is the coach, they're always going to be a contender.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's going to lead us to our final team. Obviously, everybody knows
the
Golden State Warriors, who are basically first in everything. Just kidding, but third in pace, first in offensive rating, sixth in defensive rating. Now, here's the thing with the defensive rating: the first couple weeks of the season, they were dead last. They've climbed all the way up to sixth. Defensively, they're really getting after it defensively. Kevin Durant with his rim protection now, and inserting JaVale McGee into the rotation. You're seeing a whole new team, and Draymond Green has been the best defender in the league this year. That guy is everywhere. Lance, what do you got with the Golden State Warriors?
I don't need to hit you with that many numbers. I'm just going to say they're 9-1 in their last 10, and they've only lost one road game. And, I mean, they have so many great moments this year. Clay, obviously, recently. I mean, they got Steph Curry breaking a three-point record. They have Draymond Green going for Defensive Player of the Year legitimately, and Durant is looking great on defense, and his offensive numbers are out of this world. I mean,
Kevin Durant quietly has been the MVP this year.
I'm not going to give it to him because of the situation,
Absolutely.
But numbers-wise, I mean, he's phenomenal. And they're enjoyable to watch still. You don't really have to say much, but they have a lot of storylines within a storyline on their team. So I appreciate them for giving us great games and things to talk about off the court as well. I mean, they're just great for the business. So
absolutely, they are.
Them.
Yeah, Gonzo, what do you got on the Golden State Warriors?
Championship. Obviously, I got them. I pick as winning the championship.
You still got him with a sweep over the Cavs?
Absolutely.
Damn.
There's another thing too. Everybody keeps saying that he doesn't deserve Durant doesn't deserve MVP. Well, I didn't think LeBron deserved those two MVPs in Miami. The fact of what he had done. But let's be honest too. LeBron, they say LeBron improved his so-called post game, which I don't really think he improved his post game. He just got more dunks. So your percentage does go up when you get more dunks. But nobody's talking about how Kevin Durant's defense has greatly improved. This guy's blocking shots. He's chasing down shots. He's ripping.
Is it fair to say he's an all NBA defender right now?
Absolutely. And honestly, me personally, I think he's the MVP.
Yeah, I've got him as number one in my MVP rankings. He's been fantastic.
Even the nights when Clay and Steph are going off, he still finishes the game with 25 and 7, 8.
Quietly.
4 blocks. One time he had 6 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will say this.
I think nobody's talking about that.
I will say this because we are being really, really positive. Let me just put some shade into the room. Draymond Green does have to stop kicking people. He dislocated, I believe it was Marquise Chris's, dislocated his fingers, man.
This is what I'm thinking with Draymond Green. I don't think he's kicking people on purpose. I honestly don't. I think he's doing it subconsciously and doesn't realize he's doing it. Because once you've been suspended in the NBA Finals, why are you going to keep doing this? What cost your team the championship?
Mm-hmm.
Unless he's just the biggest idiot.
I mean,
not the sharpest tool in the shed.
You know what? A lot of us, we have certain habits that we do, but guess what? We don't have an excuse when we get out into the real world. If it's detrimental to society,
I'm not giving him an excuse. He's got to figure out a way to cut that crap out so that he doesn't cost his team again. Because I think all three of us will probably agree if he doesn't go down for Game 5, Golden State's the champions.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair assessment.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there's no reach on that at all. I really like him as far as what his energy and what he brings to the team. And I mean, he's actually can sometimes run an offense, just not too much. But I just hate to see that, and people Oh, it's fine. No, it's not, because a guy got his fingers dislocated and he was nowhere near the rim. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know, man. It's just weird to me. I haven't seen stuff like that. Maybe because I didn't get to watch Rodman as a young child, so I didn't get to see some of the stuff he did. But this is the first time that I'm seeing it in my life watching basketball. So I don't like it.
Most athletes aren't rocket scientists, and it usually aren't that right.
So Gonzo's letting us know right now, Draymond Green is not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah, he's not the sharpest tool. I mean, come on, man. Like, even with the thing he sent out that Snapchat on the plane on the USA.
Oh no! Oh,
you can't read. You're not paying attention. That's kind of a dumb move being an athlete. You know that athletes don't make those type of mistakes. So it goes to show you.
If your name's Draymond, hey, that's not really true, because if you're Draymond Green, you make those mistakes.
Yeah, see, but it goes again. He's one of those guys who might not really be that smart, just a good basketball player.
Fair enough. One negative thing I can say about this team. Well, I wanted to add their bench is starting to really. Ian Clark's a very good basketball player. I want to say that he's been really good for them. But Stephen Curry, the one drawback on him this year is he's not making open threes like he normally does. That will come, I think. But where he's kind of countered that, he is becoming an elite finisher at the rim. Because his shooting percentage, if you look, his shooting percentage is slightly below 50%, and his three-point shooting percentage is lower. What's that mean? He's making more shots at the rim.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give a shout-out to Kurt Lowe, because he did mention that watching the game. I don't know if it was it was Wednesday. During the Clippers game, he said that Curry has become an elite finisher at the rim. I think he was becoming elite last year. Even last year, I think he was top 5 with percentage of shots, like his percentage finishing at the rim. He's a better finisher at the rim than Russell Westbrook, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, I mean, I can actually see that even before this year, because without getting too much into the Thunder and Westbrook does have some really awkward layups, and Curry more has smooth layups and nice like floaters.
Mm-hmm.
Westbrook kind of goes off foot and kind of just a little awkward in the air, and he's pretty much he can't really do nothing.
I think part of the problem with Westbrook is, and we won't get too much, like you said, he's out of control.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Where Curry, he's constantly under control, but he's got all the little flip shots, puts the English on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
His finishing is absolutely fantastic at the rim, which is why you're seeing the percentage is still there. The threes are going to come. He's going to start making open threes. He's just going through one of those stretches. It happens to him every year. I remember, I don't know if it was this. It was. I don't think it was last. It might have been last year or the year before. He was shooting in the mid-30s for three-point percentage. Next thing you know, he's damn near at the top of the league. It's going to be fine. Klay Thompson's damn near 40% now, as bad as he got off. The start he got off to. He'll be fine. But I think that's going to wrap it up tonight. For all those watching and listening, be sure go on to iTunes, podcasts, Unquestionably Raw. Leave us a review. Give us the 5 stars. And on your review, if you got some criticism for us, hey, put it out there. We welcome any kind of constructive criticism. We just want to keep improving and keep getting better for you guys. And for everybody watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, get it in that comment section when the video once it's up on YouTube. Comment for us. We always typically get back to you. And I don't know if it's next week or the week after, but we're gonna do a thing where we're gonna have you guys ask us some questions on Twitter, and we're gonna answer them on the podcast. So I guess until Monday, we'll be back with our weekly power ranking. So that should be a good one. I believe we'll do 7 Eastern again. If that changes, we'll get it out on Twitter. We'll let everybody know. But until Monday, we will see you later.